Hey y'all, welcome back to Gadfly, the podcast about third-party politics, fringe candidates, and just generally weird American electoral history. I'm Dusty Wilson.
I'm Una O'Leary.
And welcome back, the world. Oh, the world.
Oh, man.
Yeah, just hope everyone's staying safe, staying healthy. Hope you're fighting the good fight. And if you can, please take some time, donate to a bond fund of some sort. The Chicago Bond Fund is what I've donated to this past week. If you're looking for a city that's good to donate to, I highly recommend Seattle or Portland. The police there have been especially violent towards people. So that's what I've been spending my weeks doing, just watching citizen journalists on on Twitch, just live streaming themselves at the front line of the protests. It's been really frustrating and very eye-opening and just pretty amazing.
Going down either Black Club, Chicago, or general Instagram wormholes, and then finding an individual and Venmoing them money.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like this person is either organizing on behalf of a larger forum, or they themselves are just like out there with cartons of milk and water. I'm like, here.
Yeah. So yeah, just, stay out there, stay safe, and I hope you all are doing great. And, I'm glad you're listening to this episode of Gadfly, because if you came here for escapism, you're going to get that in the form of being completely furious at something else. So a bit of a refresher. Back when we last had our episode 2 weeks ago, the Constitution Party had just had their convention at the beginning of May. There were a number of candidates who ran, but today we're going to talk about the man who won, the man who is the Constitution Party nominee for president, a man by the name of Don Blankenship.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's not great.
Oh.
So, I do have to put this in here at the beginning. So today's going to be one of those episodes where I can't exactly hide my fury. So most of my family originates out of Kentucky. My mom's side of the family actually are mostly from a town called Louisa, which is one of those towns that is pronounced different than it's spelled. So you know who the people from out of town are who are trying to buy up your land.
Love it.
And I've lived a decent chunk of my life in multiple parts of Appalachia. Now, to say the least, I have a distinct dislike in my heart for coal barons. And lucky me, today we're going to be talking about one of the worst assholes in modern coal mining.
They went big, this Constitution Party.
I was going to say, is Don Blankenship a name you recognize or remember?
Yes, it
Excellent.
is. I mean, thanks to my hyper-liberal media exposure to, like, John Oliver.
Oh, yeah. So a bit of another note. So a lot of the research I did for this episode comes from the Rolling Stone in an article they published in 2010 written by Jeff Goodell. So Don was born in 1950 in Stopover, Kentucky, to a soldier father and Nancy McCoy of the infamous McCoy family. His parents were divorced shortly after he was born, and from what I read, Nancy divorced his father while his father was in Korea fighting the Korean War.
Nancy!
I know, it was I'm not gonna lie, Nancy McCoy, I kind of want to meet her. I don't know if it's one of those meet your heroes sort of things, but she seems like one of those badass Appalachian moms who just did everything she could. Don would move with his mother across the state border into Delorme, West Virginia. Nancy would then use her divorce settlement to purchase a gas station where she would work for 4 decades. Don would note later that Nancy often worked up to 100 hours a week at the station.
Damn.
It would be here that Don would discover his natural gift with numbers. While working at the store, he would often do mental math to instantly total up the cost of items for customers. Despite working such exhausting hours, the family grew up poor. Don would brag of collecting pop bottles and catching muskrats just to make enough money to buy himself a baseball. Childhood friends described Don as competitive and calculating. One could state that, I know, 2 great things you want in a child.
When a child is like that, he is calculating. It's like,
look,
get away from him.
Like, Don, don't get mad at Candyland. It's a game of chance. There's no strategy.
Not when I play.
Oh, Don, no.
It wasn't so much a childhood friend as just an avenue for him to get something else.
One of his friends would state that he was always trying to figure out what he could get away with when it came to risky behavior. Don would also be voted as class president at Mattawan High School. Now, I have to take a bit of context here for the rest of the story, because the fact that Don Blankenship went to high school in Mattawan means a lot. In 1920, the town was the site of a massive coal strike. Miners there worked incredibly long hours in very unsafe working conditions. Also, as was shitty tradition, the coal companies forced working miners to live in a company town. This meant that all the miners working in Mattawan lived in homes owned by the company and were paid in company scrip instead of actual money. And this scrip was only accepted at the highly overpriced company store.
Oh my God.
Having had enough, the 3,000 miners joined the United Mine Workers of America, unionized, and went on strike. The Stone Mountain Coal Corporation retaliated with firings, harassment, and eviction of the miners from the company town. When this didn't end the strike, the company sent in armed men from the Baldwin-Felts Detective Agency to break the strike.
Oh,
The
no.
detectives evicted hundreds of people from their homes, which led them to living in a tent city on a mountain outside of town. The detectives then went to evict everyone from the mountain campsite, but were stopped by the town sheriff, which was extraordinarily rare at the time, because typically
Wow.
the town sheriffs and the mayors and everyone involved were completely in cahoots with the coal company.
Sure.
A firefight ensued, ending in the death of 2 miners, the mayor of Mattawan, and 7 detectives. The governor ordered the state police to take over the town, and the miners felt that they had finally won. Another strike was held a month and a half later, where miners were met with violence, and many were left to die on the side of the road. The Baldwin-Felts Detective Agency would also later assassinate the sheriff of Mattawan, as well as his deputy, and the detectives would all be acquitted of those murders.
Holy shit.
So that's just a small taste of how things were if you were a coal miner in Appalachia, and especially if you were living in a coal miner town. But also to kind of express the fact that, when we think of, if you're a socialist in West Virginia, that used to be the norm. That if you were a coal miner, you were a socialist, you were all about labor rights, workers' rights, you were fighting your ass off in literal gun battles to keep your rights and to be able to stay healthy and safe at work.
Yeah, amazing.
So it would stand to reason, growing up in a town with a history like that Don Blankenship would understand the past plight of miners as well as the cruelty heaped on them for generations. More on this later.
Asterisk.
Asterisks. After high school, Don would attend Marshall University to study accounting. He'd graduate in 3 years and even spend 1 summer mining coal. Darrell Ratliff, Don's foreman at the time, described him as a, quote, mediocre miner. I don't want to say he was lazy, but I had to make a move once in a while. Which, look, mining for coal is hard work. Any of us would probably have a hard time doing that.
Just like, I won't call him lazy, but I don't have my thesaurus on. So
Don's first job out of college would be working for Keebler in Macon, Georgia, as an accountant. There isn't much info about his time there, but it is alluded that it is a job that he would eventually lose. I don't know if he was fired or laid off or if it just didn't work out, but a moment came that Don was in between jobs. And in a moment of what he would call predestination, in 1982, he got a call from the coal company A.T. Massey, offering him a job as an office manager at Down's hometown subsidiary, Rawl Sales and Processing. 2 years later, Don had been promoted to president of Rawl.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. He's an office manager, and somehow 2 years later, they're like, well, fuck, you're the president now. Fucking deal with that shit.
Ah!
I don't know how that happens. This is not the last time
There's literally,
this happens.
whoa, I'm waiting for you to be like, yeah, and here's what had happened.
No clue.
No, wow.
I can make some assumptions, but I don't want to taint your bias too early.
He slept his way to the top. Great,
Yeah,
okay.
He fucked so many companies.
Oh.
So Don's first test came when Massey made the decision in 1984 to split every one of their mines into separate companies, which gave them the opportunity to reopen all of them as non-union mines.
What a dick move.
It's the first of many. The United Mine Workers justifiably lost their shit, and everyone mining for Massey went on strike. Now, keeping in mind where Don had come from, this following quote becomes all the more frustrating. In the midst of the strike, Don was interviewed for a documentary and was quoted as saying, unions, communities, people, everybody's gonna have to learn to accept the United States, you have a capitalist society. And that capitalism, from a business standpoint, is survival of the most productive. And that's right, Don went full company man in no time at all, viewing unions as nothing more than a punch in the gut to profits and productivity. So Don quickly hired scabs to replace all the striking workers, put 2 miles of chain link fence around the mine, brought in armed guards and dogs, and supplied access to the mines past the Union blockade. The strike would grow more violent as the year went on, culminating in someone shooting into Blankenship's office and striking a TV.
Wow.
Despite all this, Don refused to back down, and in 1985, the Union gave up. Not only did this hurt the miners, but the Labor Institute of New York points to this moment as the backbreaking moment for miner unions in the state of West Virginia. Blankenship would end up keeping the gunshot TV as a souvenir.
What a dick.
Oh, you think that now? You're gonna need a thesaurus for dick.
God, the 80s were just a hell of a drug.
Oh my god. Yeah, that drug was cocaine and greed.
It's like, what is it about an entire enormous generation all hitting 30 at once that just...
Yeah, I don't know if it's just being so jaded that the protest movement of the late 60s resulted in nothing, that they were just like, fuck it, I'm after things for myself now, or what?
Yeah.
I don't know. So after breaking the union, Don Blankenship suddenly became a superstar within Massey. 4 years later, he was promoted to president of Massey Energy. The next year, he also became the company's chief operating officer. And in 1992, he became the president of the entire AT Massey operation. Don was the first person not a member of the Massey family to lead the company, and it only took him 10 years.
He was just like an accountant who got fired.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
And then fell up.
Yeah,
Okay.
He went from an unemployed accountant, and then a decade later, he is the president of a coal company. The first big change that Don had for Massey was to reduce the cost of mining. So inherently, it is incredibly expensive to mine. You need to dig. You need to build supports. You need to bring in parts and build massive pieces of equipment inside the shafts because the equipment is too big to move down there to begin with. Kind of a fun fact, sort of, some of the equipment is so big that once they're done with it, they just leave it in the abandoned mine and it just stays there.
Oh, man.
And it's equipment that costs like millions of dollars.
Oh, boy. Okay.
And not to mention the insurance needed to pay for one of the most dangerous jobs in the country. But there is actually a cheaper option called mountaintop removal mining. So instead of digging into the mountain to get the coal, you tear the mountain apart from the top down and grab the coal as you find it. It is a much cheaper process, but it is also absolutely devastating to the environment.
Yeah, I feel like devastating doesn't even begin to get at the heart of how environmentally terrible it is.
So not only does it lead to the complete annihilation of a whole mountain, but also the forest and ecosystems that exist on it, and leads to heavy metal contamination of streams and rivers that exist within the mountain's watershed. Because typically, that's how rivers start, from trickles on the mountains,
Jesus
rivers
Christ.
in the valleys. A study published in 2011 by the Journal of Community Health found that the rate of cancer is twice as high in communities that exist downstream from mountaintop removal mining sites. And, of course, mountaintop removal mining is still a very legal practice.
I mean, why not just throw some Agent Orange in there, too, while you're at it? Like, just go...
I mean, it would make the coal probably more flammable.
Jesus.
I wouldn't go giving them any ideas at this point. After reducing the cost of mining coal, Don went about step 2, buying out the local competition. West Virginia lawyer Bruce Stanley called Don a master at recognizing and taking advantage of distressed assets.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, he's a cheap asshole who buys ruined dreams.
Beautifully lawyered statement right there.
Yeah, I could say this and not get sued. As small companies began to flounder in the 90s, Don made a habit of buying them out as cheaply as possible. What if someone didn't want to sell? Well, the example that Rolling Stone used for this involved Don's desire to buy out Harmon Mining. You see, Harmon, while small and only 10 years old, was producing a more expensive kind of coal that is used when making steel. And by God, Don wanted it. But Hugh Caperton, president of Harmon Mining, had no interest in selling. Don reacted calmly and began writing an intricate plan of pure rat fuckery. First, Don went and bought the company that processed Harmon Mining's coal and immediately blacklisted any coal that came from Harmon for processing. Don then offered to buy out Harmon. The companies entered into some negotiations, which Don used to buy up coal reserves around the Harmon mines. This made it impossible for Harmon to grow outward and became even less valuable to other possible buyers. After this, Harmon was driven into bankruptcy, and Don bought the company for next to nothing.
Jesus Christ.
Weirdly enough, Don would visit Hugh Caperton one last time, and I have to quote verbatim from the Rolling Stone article to get across how fucking weird that meeting was. From the article, not long afterward, Blankenship stopped in to see his vanquished rival. Caperton recalls, he just walked into my office, and if I would have had a couch, he would have laid down on it. Don said, I don't understand why people don't like me anymore. In high school, I played ball. I was really popular. Then Blankenship abruptly stood up and left.
What?
Hey,
That's what he opened with?
That's all of it.
Opened and
Just
closed.
what happened. He closed on I was really popular in high school.
And first off, like now we're dealing with a madman.
Now we are.
Now we're like,
Mark
oh,
it.
okay. Before we're just dealing with like an accountant who got fired and then fell upward.
Yeah.
Okay, now I understand.
Yeah. Fired accountant, general dick. Now we're at Madman.
We're at Madman.
He would eventually sue Massey for deliberately running his business into the ground and began court proceedings that year. But aside from that lawsuit, things were going really good for Don. He'd been elected to the board of the Fluor Corporation, who were the parent company of Massey at the time. He'd received a Most Distinguished Alumni Award from Marshall University, and he'd been inducted into the university's School of Business Hall of Fame.
Ooh.
I know, we all desperately want to end up into our undergrads Business Hall of Fame, something that I don't know exists where we went.
I
Look, if Ohio University has a Business Hall of Fame, I'm going to encourage them to retire it.
Pretty sure there's got to be some. I think there are econ classes, but I think it was like unless
Econ class Hall of Fame.
Yeah, like great. You learned a new way to turn solar energy into power for orphans. Like that's what would gather.
I would love to see the Oberlin Business School. It's just like an old hippie sitting in the room and like I want to major in business. And he's just like, don't, man. Wouldn't recommend it. You want to listen to some fish tapes?
How are you bringing more caring into the MBA world?
Hey man, here at Oberlin Business, almost all of our graduates have gotten fired within a year, which is a nice way of saying Oberlin is a very kind and decent school.
Yes.
Things, though, would start to take a turn for Don in 2000. You see, Don had a real dislike of spending money, and if a cheaper option existed, then people would be encouraged to do that, or go with the cheapest option of doing nothing at all if they could get away with it. One of the more expensive costs when mining coal is purifying it. One way to do this is simply to wash the coal in water. The problem, though, is that this creates a slurry that is incredibly toxic due to the arsenic and mercury within it and cannot be treated back into drinking water. It also contains lead, cadmium, and manganese as well. All things that when you put them in a human does bad things. You have to do something with that slurry once you've cleaned your coal. So the main thing that a lot of these coal companies do is they will put it into an embankment pond. So they will guarantee that the bottom of the pond is airtight and then just pour coal slurry into it until it's full. And when it's full, they make a new pond.
I hate all of this, and I'm sure that whatever protection they're using at the bottom of this pond is about as good as like a 16-year-old who's trying to get his dick wet. So I can't wait to see where this ends, is what I'm saying, Dusty.
You know, it's funny you say that because just the tip can ruin your life.
Oh, Lord.
So on October 11th, in the year 2000, an embankment pond owned by Massey in Martin County, Kentucky, broke. What they had done is they had built this pond over top an abandoned mine shaft, and the bottom of the pond collapsed into it.
Was that abandoned mine shaft also on top of an Indian burial ground too? Like, how much worse can we make this?
Well, this ended up unleashing 306 million gallons of coal slurry, and it ended up finding its way into Wolf Creek and Coldwater Fork, tributaries of Tug Fork, the large river that separates Kentucky from West Virginia.
Oh my God.
To give an idea on how big of an environmental disaster this was, the spill was 30 times larger than the Exxon Valdez oil spill.
Oh my God.
The slurry made its way onto people's property, and in some places was as deep as 5 feet.
Oh.
In 2001, the EPA demanded that Massey pay for the site to be cleaned up and to restore Martin County back to its previous quality. But even by 2017, people are still able to find remnants of slurry in the creeks. Also, it goes without saying, as soon as that stuff hit the creeks, it killed everything living in them.
Oh my God.
This disaster would introduce Don to two of his three greatest nemeses. The Mine Safety and Health Administration, or MSHA as we'll be calling it, probably not. That's hard to say, apparently. And its head at the time, the current U.S. Secretary of Labor and wife of Mitch McConnell, Elaine Chao.
Really?
Yeah, that blew my mind too. So the MSHA began an investigation, but it would eventually be cut short by the Bush administration for fear that it would hurt coal companies at the time, and they were trying to make a really big push for coal. So the result for spilling 306 million gallons of coal slurry into the rivers was having to pay a fine of $5,600.
I mean, I'm going to be sick, not as sick as the residents of this environmental disaster.
Yeah. When I was an undergrad at High University, one of the last classes I took was a class called Appalachian Film and Lit. And one of the documentaries we watched in it was called Sludge, which was about the Martin County slurry spill. And it looked so disgusting. But one of the crazier things is the documentarian had to sneak past police just to be able to get footage of it.
I was gonna say, because so this was like 2000, 2001 that this happened?
2000, yeah, let me look this up. Yeah, it was 2002, or 2000, it was 2000.
Yeah, I remember none of this.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of one of the sad things too, is like, I know we're dealing with a lot of stuff right now too, but I mean, I got my bias towards Appalachia, and when bad stuff happens to Appalachia, you really don't hear about it. And especially when it comes to this, because the coal companies they're very insulated, because on one hand, you could get this news out there and it ruins the coal company, but that happens. The coal companies have essentially made it that if they go away, then every job in the area is gone. Or you could speak up and be a whistleblower and immediately lose your job and have your entire family lose their jobs. And it's just the retribution for whistleblowers is pretty enormous.
It's the Milltown setup essentially all over 100%. Again, but maybe with less like Confederate paper money and and certainly no unions.
Yep. It would eventually become clear, though, that this wasn't the only shoddy storage of coal slurry under Don Blankenship's leadership. Rolling Stone interviewed a resident of Lick Creek, West Virginia, named David Joe Mullet, who spoke on the water quality of his family home near the mine run by Roll in the 1980s. Mullet remembers filling up a glass of water at the kitchen sink and seeing black stuff floating in it. Sometimes it smelled of rotten eggs, sometimes it had a rainbow on top. Now, a bit of knowledge for all the city folk who are listening to this podcast. In the country, most everyone doesn't get their water from a main or a line, but from a ground well. And so essentially, everyone's just kind of digging in. You find a water aquifer under your home, and that's where you're getting your water as long as you live there. And if it runs out, you got to find a new aquifer or try to figure out a way to get a line out to your house. So David Joe would eventually begin to grow sicker and sicker. In high school, he would end up with rashes and have severe diarrhea. And in the year 2000, when he was, I would estimating somewhere between 50 and 20, his kidney failed.
Holy shit.
He would spend 3 years on dialysis until he got a kidney transplant. And he's not alone. Around 700 people in the vicinity have an assortment of serious kidney illnesses, including both of David Joe's sisters. Turns out that Don Blankenship had to figure out where to put all the coal slurry from his raw mines. When those folks would build a pond for it, Don just ordered his people to dump it all into the abandoned mines.
Oh my God.
And by all, I mean 1.4 billion gallons of it.
Where it just leached into the ground.
Mm-hmm. The slurry then leaked into the groundwater and contaminated all the ground wells in the vicinity, except for one. You see, a little before he started dumping slurry into the ground, Don Blankenship happened to build a water line to his home directly from the town of Matawan. So while everybody was busy drinking a mix of water, arsenic, lead, cadmium, and manganese, Don was drinking the freshest water around. In 2004, the residents of Mingo County would file a class action lawsuit, which resulted in an unknown settlement in 2011.
So wow.
It's probably about time we start talking about Don's first foray into politics. I mean, we are a politics podcast, though. We sure.
I had forgotten in the sea of misery.
But lucky for us, we've kind of actually already started on his origin story for getting into politics. Hugh Caperton ain't sitting down on this shit. You have run his tiny little coal company out of business, and he's not going to fucking stand for that shit. So Hugh has been busy suing Don since the later 90s. And in 2002, a grand jury found for Caperton and awarded him $50 million in damages. Don, who he had established as a sensible, even-headed guy who has gone from unemployed accountant to dick to madman, got his checkbook, and wrote out a huge amount of money to someone other than Hugh Caperton. You see, Don was pissed, massively pissed. No one beats Don Blankenship, especially for $50 million. I have a TV someone shot. Fuck you. So Don filed an appeal to the West Virginia Supreme Court. Then, prior to the new trial in 2004, he gave $2.5 million to a super PAC called And for the Sake of the Kids, which is both badly named, and I'm also pretty sure a PAC that Blankenship just started on his own. The PAC then proceeded to run ads against the current West Virginia Supreme Court Justice up for election, Warren McGraw. The ads claimed that McGraw had not only freed a child rapist, but allowed said rapist to work as a janitor in a school. Of course, the reality was much different. What had happened is McGraw had found in a case where a sex offender was caught drinking and smoking pot. The man had been sent to jail, and McGraw, along with the majority of the justices, said, no, you shouldn't have sent him to jail. You should have sent him to rehab. That was it.
And can we also just pause on the fact that for the sake of the children should really be some like PAC that is collecting kidneys off of the black market for the children who were environmentally raped by Don Blankenship. So
I don't want to know where you got those kidneys, Don.
But at least you got them.
Yeah.
You paid a little over $5,000 for this, so the least you can do is just harvest some kidneys from the black market.
Don, I don't want to accuse you of something, but is this a Ponzi scheme, but just with kidneys?
It's with kidneys. It's an MLM. Excuse me. My cousin told me about it on Facebook.
This new kidney makes me feel closer to God. And you can too. You just have to get 10 kidneys from 10 people.
The only thing my husband and I love more than this kidney is Jesus.
Slightly blasphemous, but I like your attitude. In the end, Warren McGraw would end up losing to a man named Brent Benjamin, who was someone that Don had sponsored and endorsed. So when Hugh Caperton's appeal made its way to the state Supreme Court, Benjamin refused to recuse himself, and the court found for Blankenship by a 3-2 vote. Caperton would keep fighting, and in 2008 was able to get the state Supreme Court to rehear his case, primarily because a picture had been released to the public. One of Don and West Virginia Supreme Court Justice Spike Maynard hanging out together on a beach in the French Riviera. It also just so happened that Maynard was on the court and found for Don back in 2004. So new trial, y'all. Maynard accused himself, but so did a more liberal judge because he had once called Don a clown in public. Yeah, I know. I think this is the prime example of the bit of difference that we have as of right now, where it's like Spike Maynard is forced to recuse himself. The new guy, Brent Benjamin, is not recusing himself, but the liberal justice will recuse himself because he called Don Blankenship a clown and clearly has previous bias.
I say no, and then if Blankenship has a problem with that, find him in court, and then it's like, I'll bring the receipts. The man's a clown.
ABC News would even make the trek down to try and interview Don. But when they approached him, he told the camera crew, if you're going to start taking pictures of me, you're liable to get shot. And once again, the court found for Don 2-1.
Oh boy.
Caperton would end up appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court because this is obviously a very unfair court case.
Yeah.
And the U.S. Supreme Court agreed with him because they said Brent Benjamin should have recused himself. So they ordered another retrial. On the third time around, in 2009, the West Virginia Supreme Court found they actually didn't have any right to find for the case one way or another, so lulz.
Oh my God, this is just a fiefdom at this point.
Yeah. Finally, in 2014, Caperton would defeat Don once and for all in a court in Virginia. In the end, after 16 years of lawsuits, Hugh Caperton would be awarded $4 million.
That's it?
Yep.
Probably pennies of what he's worth.
Someone made a point that at the time for Don Blankenship, he paid $2.5 million to save $47 million.
I'm so angry.
Well, let's get away from Don screwing just one man and get back to screwing whole communities. In 2003, the town of Sylvester, West Virginia would end up suing Massey because they had built a new coal processing plant outside of town. Now, Sylvester, West Virginia was a town that was mostly seniors, a lot of retired miners, and the problem with the coal processing plant was it left the town completely caked in coal dust, which resulted in a multitude of health issues and lowered property value overall. Eventually, Massey was removed from the suit and left the processing plant as the sole defendant to pay $473,000 in damages. In 2005, the residents of Rolla County in West Virginia sued to keep Massey from building a coal silo right next to an elementary school, claiming it would endanger the health of their students. 2009, the West Virginia Supreme Court found for Massey and the silo was built. In 2008, residents of Boone County, West Virginia, sued Massey for the same reason as the good folks in Mingo County did. Turns out Rawl had been pumping slurry into the abandoned mines in Boone County as well. An undisclosed settlement was reached in 2012, an hour before the trial was set to begin. Also, Don kind of seems to be like a real piece of shit to work for. A woman by the name of Deborah May was working for Don as his maid. While Don was worth all the millions possible, Deborah was making $8.86 an hour. Her list of duties included cleaning Don's 3-story house, shopping for him, doing his laundry, as well as cleaning Don's bus, 2 cabins, and a mansion of Don's in Kentucky. To be fair, he did give her one raise of an extra 30 cents an hour.
Barf.
The final straw came when Don told May that she would now have to take care of his German police dog. She quit and filed for unemployment, claiming that she was forced to leave the job. The state denied her claim, but the courts reversed that once they found out the reasons as to why she really quit. Turns out, behind Don's boring fucking voice is a furious temper. He had, quote, furiously grabbed her, threw food at her for getting the wrong fast food order, and tore a tie rack out of his closet for her not setting a hanger out for his coat. The court stated, this shocking conduct was reminiscent of slavery and is an affront to common decency.
Wow. I'm actually pretty impressed with the court right now.
I mean, I think it was a circuit court, so it's probably different folks. Speaking of affronts to common decency, it's time to listen into how Don has hurt his own minors.
I thought you were going to say his mother, which also like this
No,
woman.
you do not hurt Nancy McCoy.
That's just it. It's like part of me is also like, has he made good, like, did he buy her a nice house? Is she still working that gas pump?
I don't know. I'm from what I read, the gas station is gone due to flooding and also just the town completely falling apart. When she had founded the gas station, a railroad was still coming through the town.
Oh.
And eventually, railroads died, which, I got opinions on that. But yeah, it's eventually the business got flooded, had to close down. So yeah, I hope he got her something. I can't read any evidence that he did, but I
can also see him being a total piece of shit and not taking care of his mama.
Yeah, be like, I got you a job in the coal mines. That's something. So we've already covered how Don's a union buster. But did you know he also doesn't seem to give a shit about safety?
Yes, Dusty, at this point, I think I did know.
So it probably doesn't help that safety and regulations, while keeping people safe, tend to cost money. And money not spent on getting coal out of the ground, to Don, seems to be a waste. While you can get away with ditching safety for a little while, ignoring it permanently has a habit of biting your workers on the ass, and then usually killing them. Take, for instance, the Aracoma Alma Mine accident. In 2006, the Aracoma Alma Mine in Logan County, West Virginia, had a conveyor belt catch fire. Usually when this happens, miners have a shaft of fresh air that they can escape through and not have to fight through any smoke. However, 2 18 by 6 foot walls designed to separate fresh air and any smoke were missing and led to the smoke from the conveyor fire to enter the fresh air passage. It was also found that the conveyor belt had been improperly maintained and that the mine had accrued more than 90 safety violations the previous year.
Oh my God.
Most of the miners were able to escape by forming a chain of hands and leading each other out. The 2 men, Ellery Elvis Hatfield and Don Bragg, had gotten separated from the group and died of smoke inhalation. Blankenship would attend a vigil for the miners, but he didn't offer any condolences. According to Dolores Bragg, the wife of one of the miners, Don didn't say a word to me. In fact, he avoided looking at me. It wasn't a mine fire that killed my husband. It was greed. Massey would offer the widows Dolores Bragg and Frida Hatfield a small settlement, but they chose to take them to court. Dolores' lawyer would end up finding a pair of memos, one indicating that Don knew about the broken conveyor belt, and another from Don that said, if any of you have been asked by your group presidents, your supervisors, engineers, or anyone else to do anything other than run coal, i.e. build overcasts, do construction jobs, or whatever, you need to ignore them and run coal. This memo is necessary only because we seem to not understand that coal pays the bills. This would lead to Aracoma Coal to plead guilty, wherein they would pay $4.2 million in penalties. However, the plea deal also guaranteed that executives from Massey, including Blankenship, would not have any charges placed on them.
No!
Which brings us to the big one. On April 5th, 2010, 31 miners were working at the Upper Big Branch mine in Montcole, West Virginia, one of the most profitable mines in the Massey portfolio. The quality of coal there was apparently extraordinarily high, and the seam that was there was 6 feet deep, which at the time when most of the mines were just completely out or you're kind of digging right at the bottom was a humongous find.
Cadillac of coal, got it.
So a machine called an Anderton shearer loader was working on a seam of the mine. And essentially what this thing does is it's like a long flatbed with these 2 circular drills on both ends.
Oh, okay.
Bits on them. So this thing would be on a track, and it would go down one direction across the long wall of coal, shearing off the coal, while in the middle it would collect the coal up that it was shearing off. And it would just do this going back and forth across the coal wall.
That's amazing, because I'm pretty sure I have seen something like that in cartoons.
Yeah.
And now I know that it really exists.
Yeah, honestly, it's a pretty clever piece of machinery. So at one point, and this is based off of a theory from the MSHA, because no one's really 100% sure what happened, but from what I've read, it seems like they have the best guess as to what happened. So at one point, the machine's bits had to be changed because they had worn out. But while they were busy replacing the bits, a large pocket of methane began to form on the other end of the track. All the bits were replaced. The shearer was sent down to the other end of the track. At some point, the bits hit either a piece of limestone or sandstone, and a spark.
Yeah.
This caused the methane to ignite, and this caused a fire begin to grow in that vicinity. So one of the other problems is once this fire started, it kicked up a lot of coal dust. So one of the ways you can keep coal dust down is you sprinkle it with limestone dust, and it keeps the coal dust from bursting up and forming clouds. From what the MSHA had researched, it didn't seem like that was a usual practice around there, because there were only a few coal samples that they were able to find that also had limestone. So what happened is the coal dust burst up, and a chain reaction of explosions went through the entire mine.
Holy shit.
It resulted in 29 of the 31 miners dying.
Holy shit.
A miner 7 miles away reported that his hearing completely went after the explosion at Upper Big Branch.
7 miles away.
7 miles away. It had been the worst mining accident in America since 1970. Sadly, investigators already had quite a lot of evidence to work with before stepping foot in the mine. The year prior, Upper Big Branch had more than 500 safety citations from the MSHA, 200 of which were for significant and substantial violations, which the MSHA defines as reasonably likely to result in a reasonably serious injury or illness. They had also demanded mining be shut down at the site 54 times in 2009 and another 7 in the 3 months prior to the disaster in 2010. Rolling Stone notes that the worst of the violations involved the mine's ventilation system that was supposed to funnel fresh air into the mine via a series of movable curtains. Using this fresh air, that would be a way to keep methane out of the area. Miner Jeffrey Harris would testify that when MSHA inspectors came to the section, we'd hang the curtain, but as soon as the inspector left, the curtain came back down again.
They had the curtain. I'm just assuming they didn't buy the curtain.
No, the issue with the curtains is you have to move them pretty regularly because you're funneling it in air from the outside. And so it's a lot of work to kind of keep those curtains up to make sure you're constantly getting fresh air. And a lot of work to keep people safe means people are getting
Oh my God.
He would also state that often in the mine, the air was so thick you could hardly see in front of you. Just like the Aracoma Alma, Blankenship refused to talk to anyone. He let other people speak to the press and ignored distraught families. He would acquiesce to a few interviews where he would claim that safety violations in mines were, quote, unfortunately a normal part of the mining process. Don went on about doing everything he could to place blame on anyone but himself. He hired a big-time PR team and went about accusing the MSHA for conducting a secretive investigation, blaming the MSHA for creating a ventilation plan that caused the explosion, and also claimed that they mined into a seam of natural gas and that the explosion was really an act of God. However, Don's own miners would deny this, stating that the mine had been evacuated 3 times in the 2 months before the explosion due to dangerous levels of methane, and that the company was constantly lying to inspectors. Miner Gary Quarles, whose son Gary Wayne Quarles had died in the explosion, stated, everyone knows when mine inspectors are coming. You clean things up for a few minutes, make it look good, then you go back to the business of running coal. That's how things work at Massey. When inspectors write a violation, the company lawyers challenge it in court. It's all just a game. Don Blankenship does what he wants. Finally, though, Don met a disaster that he couldn't ignore or buy his way out of. On December 3rd, 8 months after the disaster, Don Blankenship resigned from Massey. The following year, an independent commission would find that Massey and the MSHA were both responsible for the blast. Massey for blatantly ignoring safety guidelines, and the MSHA for not shutting the mine down sooner. Alpha Natural Resources, Massey's newest parent company, agreed to pay a $10.8 million civil fine and a $209 million settlement to the Department of Justice that was to be doled out for restitution to the families of the miners who had died and to a health and safety research and development trust. The families of the killed miners and the 2 survivors received $1.5 million each. But the real fun came in 2014, when Don Blankenship was indicted by a federal grand jury for conspiracy to violate safety laws, defrauding the federal government, securities fraud, and making false statements to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Don would be facing 31 years in federal prison if found guilty on every charge. However, Don would only be found guilty of conspiracy to violate safety laws, primarily because he directly refused requests to improve ventilation at the mine and ordered that fewer miners focus on safety so that they can increase coal output. In 2016, he was sentenced to 1 year in prison, the maximum allowed by law, 1 year probation, and to pay a fine of $250,000.
Ooh.
After the jury read their verdict, Don said to the court, "My main point is wanting to express sorrow to the families and everyone for what happened. It's important to me that everyone knows that I am not guilty of a crime."
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry you feel bad.
I'm sorry. You're so lame.
Now, get back to mining. Don spent a year in jail very quietly. Well, mostly quietly. Towards the end of his year, he published a booklet in which he declared himself an American political prisoner and that the MSHA and President Obama were covering up what really happened. When his year was up, Don exited with an immediate chip on his shoulder. You see, Democrats, sort of, sometimes kind of Senator from West Virginia, Joe Manchin, had stated during the disaster that Don Blankenship, quote, had blood on his hands. And Don just couldn't let that stand. Immediately after leaving prison, Don took to Twitter and demanded that Senator Manchin debate him on the truth of what happened in that mine. He then stated that he might just run for Senate against Joe Manchin instead. And in 2018, Don Blankenship did just that.
With a teardrop tattoo near his eye. Don is coming for you, Manchin.
Why have you tattooed love and coal on your hands?
Oh my God.
The thing, though, is Don picked a pretty tough year to run against Joe Manchin. The GOP primary already had 2 top-tier candidates in Congressman Evan Jenkins and State Attorney General Patrick Morrisey. So a fresh-out-of-jail felon would have a really tough hill to climb to end up on top. And so this is typically where I would break and talk about Don Blankenship's platform and political beliefs. But the thing is, dude doesn't seem to have any. Not in 2018, not in 2020. His personal website hasn't once held a section for his political platform. Just the occasional essay or statement about some shitty tweet he made. And his campaign, by default, turned into him just stating that the Upper Big Branch disaster was not his fault over and over again. In his first ad for his Senate run, he referred to the disaster as Obama's deadliest cover-up and implicated that Manchin and MSHA were a part of it too. Following this, he would make statements supporting Trump's proposed border wall while claiming that a border wall and ending sanctuary cities would end drug trafficking, and implore that he was Trumpier than Trump.
I want to jump in right now and also explain that your retelling of what his sort of platform maybe is so much more engaging than the man actually, because this is like what I remember is I think John Oliver had a clip and he had all the charisma of limp celery.
Yeah, that's Don. That's 100% Don.
It was amazing in its lack of any sort of amazement.
So bizarrely enough, this tactic seemed to be working. By March of 2018, polls done by Morrisey and Jenkins's campaign had Don polling well enough for a very close second place. With one, he was within 1% of winning, and with another, he was within 2%.
Shit.
But Don would make one fatal step that derailed his entire campaign. In April, Blankenship began a beef with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. You see, McConnell wasn't much of a fan of the upcoming felon, and he believed that Don would easily lose to Joe Manchin, in a seat that the GOP were trying really, really hard to win. Mitch launched the Mountain Family Super PAC and spent $1.3 million in TV ads specifically against Don, which accurately claimed that he was both a convicted criminal and lived a lavish lifestyle while ignoring mine safety laws. I hate to say it, not wrong, Mitch.
Yeah. You got one.
So you are capable of telling the truth.
Oh.
Just choose not to.
You don't burn up like it's holy water.
So not one to back down, Don released a campaign ad of his own, entitled Ditch Mitch.
Hi, I'm Don Blankenship, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Swamp Captain Mitch McConnell has created millions of jobs for China people. While doing so, Mitch has gotten rich. In fact, his China family has given him tens of millions of dollars. Mitch's swamp people are now running false negative ads against me. They are also childishly calling me despicable and mentally ill. The war to drain the swamp and create jobs for West Virginia people has begun. I will beat Joe Manchin and ditch Cocaine Mitch for the sake of the kids.
Yes!
I am such a fan of jump cut. Oh my God, please have emotion. Just do something.
Oh my God. Oh my God, the man is so dead inside.
I mean, the Rolling Stone article did describe him as having black, lifeless eyes.
Like coal.
Oh, fuck off. All right, so first let's cover at least we're going to cover the two big phrases. We'll start with the easier of the two, Cocaine Mitch.
Cocaine Mitch.
So this at the time was such an odd fuck thing to include, especially because it was akin to like the ultimate B-side conspiracy theory. Like you only knew it if you were like super fucking cool.
If you were doing coke in the 80s.
Oh my God. Dude, I know this conspiracy theory. I saw them playing at CBGB's once. Here's the basis of Cocaine Mitch. So Elaine Chow's father owns a shipping company. One of his boats was docked in Colombia and was prepared to ship a whole lot of coal to Europe. Before it left port, 40 packages of cocaine were found on the ship. The Colombian authorities weren't able to find out who got the cocaine onto the ship, but were confident that no one on the boat knew either. The nickname alludes that Elaine Chow's father knew of the cocaine and was smuggling it, and also Mitch knew about it and was a part of it. The Washington Post, though, makes a really good point by using cats as a unit of measure. So the ship where the cocaine was found has a capacity of 91,000 tons, or 20 million cats. The cocaine was 90 pounds, or about 9 cats. It is very easy to hide 9 cats among 20 million cats. And it is such a small amount to smuggle that it would have been a waste of time and energy for Elaine Chow's dad to do that if he had been a part of it. More than likely, it was just a small attempt to smuggle a little bit of cocaine, and they got caught.
Yeah, what was it? The Wall Street Journal? The Washington Post pointed this out with the cat?
Yeah, the Washington Post.
Okay. Wow, Washington Post. I mean, you just could have led with, like, Mitch McConnell is not cool enough. That's all you needed.
Yeah, if I were to ascribe a drug to Mitch McConnell, it would be a bag of oregano.
The souls of children.
Oh my God. The whole Alex Jones thing right there. I wish I could remember the name of what's that. They actually have a name of that shit. That's the worst part. So let's get to part 2, and I'm not going to say it as the whole phrase. I'm just going to say it starts with the word China and ends with the word person. So after this,
yes.
A lot of people rightfully began to call Don a fucking racist.
Yes.
But see, Don would take issue with this. And when addressed about this during a debate on Fox News, of all things, they asked him, so why'd you say this? And he would go on to state that those two words, when put together as one word, isn't a racist term. That he himself is an America person.
Oh my God.
And that there are also Korean persons and Africa persons.
2 of those were countries.
Yep.
One's a continent.
Also, follow up, how does one qualify as an America person? I mean, Elaine Chow's father was born in America. Elaine Chow was born in America.
They are both America persons.
Follow up with that, Brett Baer. Please and thank you. So following this, Don's support tanked. It also didn't help that Donald Trump had a tweet prior to the election day begging the people of West Virginia to vote for anyone but Don Blankenship. So Don would end up finishing in 3rd place in the GOP primary with 19.9% of the vote, and that is still too fucking much.
Way too much.
But this is how we end up getting to Don getting acquainted with the Constitution Party. It seems his desire to beat his enemies was so strong that Don accepted their nomination to run for Senate in West Virginia. One problem, though, is that the state has something called a sore loser law. This states that if you lose a major party primary, you can't just turn around and run for a third party or as an independent in the general election.
Yeah, sit your ass down.
Don stated, essentially, the Republican Party can now slander a candidate throughout the primary, effectively denying that candidate an equal opportunity to win the nomination, and simultaneously pass a law in the middle of an election cycle which prohibits the slandered person from being on the general election ballot. Now that I've read that, I am giving it too much energy. I'll read it again.
Please.
Too much for the kids.
Zoom picture in and out, just so I get the full effect.
So once again, Don went and said something fuck stupid, because the West Virginia sore loser law, it's been on the books for nearly 100 years. He was probably alluding to an amendment to the law that happened in March of that year, but the amendment just states that if you're a member of one party, you can't run for another party even if they nominate.
Yeah, no, that you're giving him way too much credit. He is lying and dumb. That's
He's good with numbers.
Not even or, just lying and dumb.
Which brings us to 2020. Don is the presidential nominee for the Constitution Party. He still doesn't have a clear platform on his website, aside from the occasional anti-China essay. His Twitter shares that he's still against sanctuary cities, is somewhat anti-Trump, mostly when it came to eviction's not the word. When you kick out a president.
Impeachment.
Impeachment, that's the word. I should have never forgot. Ugh. But he refers to Trump as America's paper tiger when it comes to him attacking China. He still hates the media, and God damn it, he did not cause the Upper Big Branch disaster. He even went as far as to write a book called Obama's Deadliest Cover-Up. They all have blood on their hands, which directly blames Obama and Biden for the explosion.
Wait, hold on. Hold on. Is the title Obama's Greatest Cover-Up,
Yes.
They all have...
Yes. It has one review. It is a 5-star review from a man who also took time to give a pair of khakis a 4.5-star review.
And the name is Blankenship.
That blonde guy used to be really popular in high school. I don't know what happened. Also, yeah, if you go to his Twitter, I would say, and I wanted to do the math on this, but I ran out of time. But since the beginning of the year, about 70 to 80% of it is him constantly saying he is not at fault for the Upper Big Branch mine disaster. He barely takes time to even mention that he's running for president.
Amazing.
And this is the guy that the Constitution Party is just like, fuck yeah, him. Charles Kraut has ideas. He's a little more liberal. Fuck that dude. Don fucking Blankenship.
I would say the Constitution Party absolutely deserves who they got, except that they're such God botherers and so love the Bible as much as the Constitution, and they have chosen the actual devil to spearhead the party. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm a little worried for them.
And if we remember, one of the key pillars of the Constitution Party is every single one of their nominees need to be people of high quality and impeccable ethics.
There's no one more not that.
Finally, somehow Don also found time this year to sue all the media. I am not exaggerating.
All of them, Katie.
He went down to the courthouse and yelled, all the media, write it down.
I want all the media.
I didn't drive all the way to Wheeling for you to half-ass this, Becca. So yeah, Don is seeking $12 billion in damages from Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, Breitbart, Tribune Publishing, the Los Angeles Times, the Washington Post, and the Associated Press. I don't believe the case has been thrown out yet.
Oh, Jesus.
But maybe not.
We don't have time. We don't have time for this bullshit. We just don't. Maybe February 2020, but we're in June 2020 right now. It's been 100 years since the beginning of the year.
But maybe now that all that's done, maybe he will find time to actually write out a political platform.
God help us.
Yeah, and that's the Constitution Party nominee, Don Blankenship.
Oh my God. I love learning what makes these terrible people click and then remembering that there's a political party there that wants them.
Everyone has a home, no matter how terrible you may be. Oh, I forgot this at the top of the show. Oh man, late at the end, we got Rocky news.
Oh, Rocky news, yes.
Oh man, so as longtime listeners of the podcast know, our favorite person in all of third-party politics is a fellow from San Diego named Rocky De La Fuente. He is running for president this year with the Alliance Party. He tried to run as a Republican, didn't work. But Rocky has gotten a second party endorsement. Turns out that the topic of our last series, the Natural Law Party, the remnants in Michigan have endorsed him as their presidential nominee this year. So Rocky De La Fuente will appear on the Michigan ballot in 2020 as the presidential candidate of the Natural Law Party.
Unbelievable. Also, shame on you, Michigan. Stop giving this man more reason to live. Stop it.
No, Rocky needs everything. I want him to have everything except the presidency.
This is my next question. Like, is he on the Alliance Party member or whatever in other states?
In other states, yeah. That's how it works for a lot of places. Yeah, there are candidates who are on different party ballots in different states. It's mostly something that happens with third-party candidates, but it's something that happens a lot in New York, where they have a really kind of fucky multi-party system that's going on that eventually we'll talk about. But,
nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a perfectly legal, cool thing that happens. And, yeah.
So legal, so cool.
So now that we've talked about good old Don Blankenship, do you think you're gonna be voting for him?
Barf. Barf.
Don't get your barf on the Scantron, otherwise they might count it. Well, awesome. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed this wonderful dive into the Constitution Party. Hope you learned something. And next time, we're going to be diving into the last convention that happened. That's right, the Libertarians, motherfucker.
We're finally getting to the Libertarians.
Oh, they got a copy of Atlas Shrugged, and they don't want you to buy it with regulations involved. But I promise, it's going to be a lot less angering than the last two episodes were. So
amazing.
Hope to see you all next time here on Gadfly. Lots of barks from Laverne the podcast dog.
Yay!
Laverne loves you all.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll catch you next time on Gadfly. Gadfly is a production of Avid Serotonin. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at GadflyPod.